I'm joined now by Anthony Randazzo, Director of Economic Research at the Reason Foundation, and Matt Kibbe, President and CEO of FreedomWorks. Matt, you guys put out that list that sort of got this ball rolling. Next thing we knew, Michelle Malkin coined the phrase layoff bomb. Kerry Pickett at the Washington Times picked it up. Now everybody knows that this layoff bomb is coming in 47 days.
Yeah, and you know what's most disturbing? When you look at the list, you're talking not about one sector of the economy that's negatively affected by one bad economic policy coming from the Obama administration. You're talking about consumer services and energy and manufacturing. All across the board, CEOs and companies and boards of directors are making the rational decision that something bad is coming. And the question is what? You know, Keynesian economists always talk about animal spirits and the uncertainty of temporary tax policy. Well, maybe now we're certain. Maybe there are real factors that are driving real decisions, and it's no longer to blame with George Bush. Now it's Barack Obama's economy.
You know what's amazing to me is when I hear progressive pundits and economists say how much we need the public sector to prop up the private sector, but they never identify where the public sector gets the money to prop up the private sector from. That's fascinating to me.
They print it.
Oh, that too. I forgot. Yes, they do print money.
They attempt to print it. There's plenty of progressive economists who say we have no money problems. We can just print more of it. There's a lot of what quantitative easing is attempted to do. But a lot of all that money is basically sat at the banks. It hasn't filtered out to the rest of the economy. Plus, if it did, then we would have an inflation problem on our hands.
Well, some of those banks that took bailout money, laying off people. Automobile companies, laying off people.
Well, naturally, the economy is not in a good position right now. There's all this talk about how we're going into some kind of recovery in 2013, or that we're even in recovery right now. If you look at housing, it's in a really awful place given where foreclosures are going to hit coming in the next year. If you look at the unemployment market, it's clearly in a bad place. Private debt is way too high right now, and it's going to be coming down, and that means that people are not going to be spending money. It means that you're not going to have people producing stuff. And yes, while consumer spending is down, credit card debt, consumer debt is actually on the increase. A lot of that is student loan debt. So if private debt is going up, particularly consumer debt, but consumer consumption is going down, and that means people are just basically racking up debts and they're not spending it on goods in the economy, and it's piling up this money that is eventually going to get paid down in the future. We have this massive, nasty cycle over the next couple of years. That's not a good economy, so why would people hire? It makes sense looking to the future for companies to be laying people off right now.
You know, it's scary, Matt, is that progressives will say we need to stimulate the economy. They already did it. It didn't work. They're going to say we need more government intervention in the marketplace. They're going to say we need to support demand. But here's the problem with supporting demand in the economy. There's a truth that maybe both progressive and conservative economists would agree upon, that a population is demand in of itself. The problem with that is, though, a conservative economist will say, well, yeah, but demand means more than just needing something. It means having the means to acquire it based on one's labor. When you start to give away stuff for free, when you start to advocate just supporting demand with the government consumes more and more from the companies it's supposedly trying to help.
Yeah, two words, opportunity cost. Every time the government takes a dollar from somebody and spends it on something else, that means that dollar is not spent by that consumer. It's not saved by that mom hoping to put her kid in college. It is not used for the health care that grandma or grandpa needs. And the problem with Keynesian economics, John Maynard Keynes famously said it himself, in the long run, we're all dead. Well, guess what? All these phony fixes in the short run come home to roost, and the real factors ultimately matter. And here we are with this train wreck that Anthony's talking about. It's really quite massive compared to anything Ronald Reagan inherited in 1980. You have what the Fed has done. You have this massive debt. You have a shrinking economy that seems stuck. And all of these factors together are not going to be solved with an automatic tax increase on January 1.
You know, I got to wonder, are the progressives going to say, see, we didn't go big enough on the stimulus package. We're not raising taxes higher enough or high enough. The funny thing is, though, they keep wanting to increase the spending for a wider group while shrinking the number of people who are going to pay for it, and imposing more costs on this 1% or this 2% or whoever it is. But business owners, and I keep saying it, A business exists on two pieces of paper, one that details cost, one that details revenue. If the government keeps adding to the cost side, pushing up costs, they have to make up for the revenue by doing whatever it is they're going to do, which is in many cases cutting jobs.
Eventually, and this is the progressive story, is that you can keep pushing that off eventually. You you already have, years ago, in 2010, Paul Krugman was already saying, the stimulus wasn't big enough. He was saying it actually right after we passed the stimulus. He wants more stimulus money. And the progressive idea is also, let's tax the rich more so we can spread that money around. You have less income inequality.
But then they pass that down to in cost. It happens every time.
This is the progressive story, and it doesn't work out that way. The problem is, as long as the economy is bad, they're going to look at it as the fault of the Republicans for not letting them do everything that they want, and they're going to look at it as the fault of the wealthy for not paying more of their fair share into this whole story.